So for this video, we're going to be using the same training project. So we'll get that loaded up. And so for this tutorial, it's really just going to be focused on the project selection tree and all the different options you have when selecting and right-clicking the sitemap, the bundle, setup, links, and just kind of going down the list of what options you all have available. And then in future videos, there will be kind of more in-depth with some of these tools since they're a bit more involved for this video right now, or more involved than this video right now. So right here, we're going to start with our selection tree. So when you right click on it, you're going to get different context menus depending on whether or not you're in the sitemap view, whether you're in the bundle cloud view, and setup cloud view as well, I think. So again, for now, we'll start in setup cloud view or sitemap view, and then we'll go into bundle cloud. So right clicking on our sitemap with 2025 version, sometimes the right click can be a little bit slow, so just click once, give it a second, and it'll always pop up. But you have the same option to add sitemap as you do up here. Rename, if you want to rename your sitemaps to be levels or different areas, different days, however you want to organize it, you can go that route. From there, generate setup archives. So I believe this was necessary in older versions or releases of Register. I believe it should automatically do all of this during the import of your scan datasets. So there really shouldn't ever be a need for you to go back and generate these, but I believe it has something to do with exporting out for specific file type, file formats. It's going to go pull from these archives to go and generate those deliverable file exports. So if there's ever a warning that says something along the lines of like archive not available, probably just have to go back into here and generate those. But generally speaking, I have yet to ever need to hit that or utilize that tool or function. It should always do it automatically behind the scenes. Edit HDR image. So selecting the sitemap or bundle, it's going to go into and load up basically one example photo for probably the first setup in the list that has images. But then you can go and apply changes, edits, change coloring, contrast. There's a whole plethora of different tools and ways to go about editing these within the software. And then again, once you hit either apply to selection or apply to project, in this case, since it's selected the sitemap, they're both the same, but you can edit photos for just specific setups instead of all of them. So again, we'll get more into an in-depth kind of example and tutorial later on, but from there you can access the edit HDR images through sitemap, through bundle, and ultimately individual setups or multiple setups that you want to select. From there, export panoramic images. So any photos that you have captured within the project, you have options to export them. I don't know for sure which option or license is required to go do this kind of workflow. I think it's the workflow option from Leica, but then you have full edit, export, re-import possibility. So you may or may not see these features and tools available in your license or your software depending on your license package. So both exporting them, JPEGs again are really what's the primary colorization of the point cloud, and ultimately gets exported to the majority of, to all file formats. The EXRs or the HDR images, you can edit those in third-party software as well. I've never edited the HDR images. I've just done the JPEGs within something like Lightroom or Photoshop to go pretty up the photos, change some stuff. I don't know. It's up to you, however you want to edit them. But you have options to go and change the basically compression level of the photo as well as the resolution. Generally speaking, I would just say max both of these out for the exports, and then when you're editing them and re-importing them, they'll have the best possible scenario, most image resolution to work with. Re-import panoramic images. So there's kind of two options when it comes to importing or re-importing. There's this re-import, which is assuming that you basically went the route of you exported the 360 images, you edited them in some third-party software and re-exported those like out of Lightroom, and then re-import will allow you to select the same photos as long as they have the same names as the setups when you exported them. It'll automatically realign them and recolorize the point cloud based on those edits you created. If you ever see an option to, if I right click on just a single setup and there's this option that says import images, that's going to re-import the images from the raw scan folder from scratch. So in scenarios where we already have photos imported, I don't know that it's going to change anything. I don't even think that it will allow you to, like, if you change panel image resolution, I don't think it's going to allow you or will actually update the image resolution after the fact. It's going to always stay whatever it was imported at the beginning or the first time it was imported. But again, importing images, this option will import from scratch. Typically when I use this tool or this function, I'll import a raw scan data set. I will not import images. Therefore, it's just a black and white data set that I have. I'll go do my registration, georeference, clean the cloud, and then once I have all that done, if I have a bunch of images, I'll just let them import overnight, since again, images are the longest import duration factor when it comes to Register 360. So sitemap, and that's our last option there. Bundle Cloud View, or you select your bundle, you're going to have options to show in Cloud Viewer. So you're just going to basically hop right into Bundle Cloud View. And we'll stay in Sitemap View. Slice tool is going to bring you right into the True Slicer tool. Again, no different than just simply selecting your bundle, hovering and selecting True Slicer. From there, show suggested links. Go more in depth on this later on, but when you click that, show suggested, it's going to go and populate a list of potential links that the software thinks that there's adequate overlap and adequate error between them to automatically add a bunch of these links. So, but you can select one, you can go into just the visual alignment for that one link, or you can add all visible suggested. And so long as the links that it's suggesting when it runs them, as long as they fall within this link creation criteria, and then it'll run that max number of iterations, use that points density, and the normal threshold or deviation allowance. It'll use all those to go and try and automatically add these links as long as they fit all of that criteria. So that's auto add. Unified bundle, so new workflow option within 2025. So right now this data set is structured. Right? All these setups, they're setups. They're individual. You can break them out from the rest of the bundle. It's a structured data set. When you unify, it's going to the best of my explanation and knowledge, it's basically going to make it an unstructured data set, meaning that the setup information is now technically gone, and the point cloud as a whole, or the bundle as it sits, it's going to unify it so it's one singular point cloud. There's no more setups. It's just a single mass of points. So helpful when you're working in really large data sets, say thousands of setups, and you're doing kind of areas and chunks at a time. That, okay, once I get this northwest corner done and registered and it's georeferenced, everything about it's perfect, I don't want to take any chance of it changing after the fact. You can unify it, and it will go and take those structured setups and make them unstructured, unified to a single point cloud. So no matter what, after the fact, as you're tying that unified bundle, that set of points, into the rest of the future setups and new links, it's never going to change that chunk of that point cloud. It's always going to stay the same. So smaller projects, generally not going to need it. It's really helpful and more of a benefit when it comes to very large scale registrations. So from there, add target at setup positions. So again, new kind of workflow option within the 25 version is you can apply control via just 2 points, as long as you have your scanner set up over a known point. With something like, I guess you can do it with an RTC, a BLK, P series, any scanner, as long as it's on a tribe rack and you can verify it's over a known position. But if you go and add target at setup position, so now at every one of these setups, center point is going to be a target. So again, if you knew the exact coordinates of 2 of these setups, you knew the height of instrument, basically the offset of the scanner above ground. If your control point on the ground has a known elevation, you'll set all that, and then you can tie it into control. So that's kind of where that feature is very helpful and beneficial. So again, future tutorial videos, I'll kind of walk through that process and what that takes to tie into control, utilizing just two setups. From there, we have delete all links. So I'll just actually hop back into my sitemap view, turn my links back on. So if I wanted to, I can delete all links in one shot. If you ever want to delete a bunch of setups out of the project, you no longer need them. I believe you have to delete all links associated to those setups first, and once those setups are all totally isolated, at which point then you can delete the setups. So it's just a batch edit way of deleting a bunch of links. Delete all targets. Same just as before. I'm just going to delete them all. So now, turn everything off. There are no more targets visible. So again, if they're used as constraints, or you have control points, applied control, and you're trying to delete setups, if they still have like those constraints applied or known or somehow used and influenced in the rest of the bundle, you're going to have to delete those before to let you delete the setups. From there, optimize, same as the big red button at the bottom right. Just going to go and optimize all your links, so it's minimizing any error propagation throughout the registration and all of your setups and links. Run cloud to cloud, so every link that's currently created, not the white dash lines, those are just visuals to say, hey, I think this is a link, but every link that has an actual solid color, it's going to rerun essentially the visual alignment between those for every single link, and then it'll go and utilize the same iterations, point density, all this criteria, and then it'll just rerun everything. So that's kind of I'll do it a couple points throughout the registration as I'm changing links, alignments, adding setups, deleting points, whatever. Detect moving objects. So right now in 2025, this is a semi-broken tool, or it's bugged. So typically you just run it. So for the whole bundle, it'll go run, basically it'll go find all the move points throughout the project, and then it'll go highlight them for you so you can delete them either in chunks or areas, or you can delete them all in one shot. As of right now, I think in 2025.0.0 version, I think you have to be less than 10 setups in a bundle for it to work. Anything more, it'll freeze out your computer and just kind of goes into like a memory leak or something weird. So known bug, it'll be fixed and addressed, so it's working like normal like it has in past releases. But for now, keep that in mind if you're running 2025.0.0. From there, again, you have the same edit HDR image. Since we're selecting the bundle, it's going to apply. The selection is the whole project, so one and the same. Well, if we have multiple bundles or multiple sitemaps, then it'd be different. But for right now, I just have the one, so I'm going to get you into the same HDR image editor. Same export panoramic images as when we select on the sitemap. And then last one is going to be the re-import again. So just like we talked about before, it's going to, assuming you've already exported, you've edited them, and you want to re-import them to recolorize the point cloud, that's re-import. So now we get into a setup cloud, or just individual setups. So you have similar options with visibility. You can show setup in Cloud Viewer. Right, it's no different than when you have one selected coming into setup Cloud View. Right, so now it's just the one setup, just that point cloud, nothing else. You can also go, let's go back into sitemap view. So show on bundle cloud viewer, again, just gonna go snap you into the point cloud bundle cloud view. Show hide setups, so kind of a helpful tool if you're trying to just fly through the cloud or look at less data or less information, especially when you get into projects that may have hundreds if not thousands of setups. It's just a lot of data. Whether you have one setup selected or multiple, you can right click on them, show hide, which I think I missed it. Where is it not showing it? But you have the same show hide cloud option. So if I just select the one, all right, show hide, it's going to go turn the point cloud visibility off. So kind of hard to tell in the sitemap view, but if I just jump back into bundle cloud view, all right, and I go show setup cloud, see some of it get loaded back in. Where it says now it's a little bit more sparse because it's only the setups adjacent that's showing. So again, you can select a bunch of them, show hide, and it'll hide a lot more bigger chunks of the cloud. So turn that back on, sitemap view. So now, use level condition. So with P-series data sets, you're going to have a dual axis compensator that's going to have levelness information tied to that setup. So with P-series data or any data sets that use a true dual axis compensator, it's not going to tilt those setups in any capacity. You always have options to turn it off and on, or when it comes to applying control, how you can manipulate that and let it apply to the said bundle. But anytime you see this little bubble level indicator, that's going to be the visual representation that high tilt accuracy from an RTC 360 was scanned and used, or any kind of data set that has dual axis compensator information also saved within. Leveling a setup on a tribrac makes no difference. It's not going to know. It's just a normal setup. So if you want to turn it off, there's times where I will turn it off, or there's times when, especially with an RTC, it's exceedingly rare, but I've seen it to where the high tilt accuracy got a little haywire during a scan, so like the entire bundle was tilted like at a 45-degree angle. So for all setups, I selected all setups, and you just simply turn off the leveled condition. And so now, after you do that, for that setup, it's going to again re-optimize into the rest of the bundle. Because the way Register 360 handles levelness data, and now you can see too, the bubble level has since been X'd out, meaning that's turned off. But with RTC 360 data, if you have setups that do not have the high tilt accuracy enabled, you're going to, or the software is going to give it less weight for what it determines level is. So all the setups as they're tied together, it's going to average, in essence, it's going to average all of those setups, IMU, high tilt accuracy data, or levelness data. It's going to average all of those setups together to determine like levelness as a whole. Right? So each setup has its own information, its own idea of what perfectly level is. So it's averaging all of that between setups. So setups that do not have high tilt accuracy enabled or never had it to begin with, they carry a lesser weight for what level is. Therefore, setups that do have high tilt accuracy are going to more than likely stay as they are, or if they have to tilt or adjust, they're going to adjust much, much less because they carry a higher weighted value. There is no controlling that. That's just done by Leica and their software. So just keep that in mind. But again, when it comes to P-Series data sets with a true dual axis compensator information, it will not tilt those in any capacity, to my knowledge. So again, you can kind of turn that off and on if you're ever having weird levelness issues or registration, like you have a setup that's just like, it just can't tie in with everything else, but it has high tilt accuracy. Sometimes I'll just go and turn off high tilt accuracy for all setups, rerun cloud to cloud, re-optimize, and then that can sometimes fix a registration because one setup had some bad IMU data or bad high tilt accuracy data that something happened, who knows what. Yeah, so that's high tilt accuracy. So I'll just turn it back on, use level condition, and again, once it turns it back on, re-optimizes the bundle, averages out all the setups, gives them the corrected weight, and then from there it determines the level for the overall bundle. Especially with RTC 360 data, it's incredibly accurate that we found in all of our testing with high tilt accuracy to the point that we use that scanner for floor flatness, ASTM 1155E floor flatness testing and reporting all the time. And it matches third parties, it matches our other software, it matches our other means and methods for finding level and testing level of concrete slabs and whatnot. From there, slice tool, again, so if you just select the one setup, it's going to bring you right into the true slicer. Show suggested links, same thing as before. Some of these are going to be redundant. So now with the edit images, well, I guess HDR image, so now I have just that one image selected. So now with that one selected, now truly if I just keep this apply to selection option checked, it's only going to edit the image and recolorize this one setup. The other option that you saw was edit HDR or edit image blur. So it was released a few years ago, I think. Only use it on a very rare occasion on some specific projects, but you have the ability to come in and blur out as much of the image as you want. And there's different tools and different workarounds, which again, later video will go in depth, all the picks and clicks and how to use that tool. But you can come in and blur out as much or as little as you need for whatever job environment you're on that may require it. So you can select just the one. I think if you select multiple, we'll check. Edit. So you can only do it one at a time, it would look like. Okay. Batch import image. So this is if you have external cameras capturing the 360 imagery. Again, since we use RTC 360s, I think this really only applies to P-series scanners that you can set up external cameras to capture versus using the internal camera system. So there's the help manual that kind of walks you step by step how to do that process, how to match setups to images, but it's just a means of importing external 360 images that weren't captured internally on the scanner. Generate setup archives, again, automatically done during import. Nothing you should really ever have to touch or deal with. Same, export panoramic images. Re-import, again, just like with the bundle cloud. Here you also have a global restore points. So for this one setup, or if I select multiple setups, you're going to have the ability to restore points, both visual, cloud to cloud, or both. So instead of like drawing fences within the setup cloud view or bundle cloud view, you can just select everything and then restore all points in one shot, and it'll reset everything if you need to go back and redo anything like that. From there, you can add target at just that one position. You can delete all the links for just this selected setup or multiple selected setups. You can do the same with delete targets for that selected setup or setups. Rename setup, so you can do just one at a time. You can just double click, or if you select everything, right click, you can also do the same, rename selected setups. So super helpful if you're trying to keep it organized by level, by area, by building, whatever. Import images, again, is going to be importing the imagery from scratch. So say you made a bunch of edits to your images, re-imported it, and it just looks terrible, or you don't like how it looked in the end. If you want to start over from scratch, you just hit import images and it'll do all that from scratch. And then lastly is just going to be setup information. Just gives you some information about the serial number, the scanner, everything you used. So that's for one setup. Inside of these setups, you're also going to have all the links tied to that setup. So this setup only has 2 links. If I select this guy, expand it, you're going to see it has 4 links, i.e. the 4 branches coming off of it. So when you select one of those links, you can also go show in Link Cloud Viewer, which is just going to be the relationship between those 2 setups. You have open visual alignment. You can go hop right into that versus selecting it on screen or hitting it down here. You also have a split view. Again, just another tool, registration alignment tool. So these setups are already aligned together for the most part, so views are synced more or less where they should be. Slice tool, true slicer again, optimize bundle. Another really helpful one is just going to be this join and optimize. So instead of having to go into the visual alignment or into the split view to then go rerun that link, if it's already more or less where it should be, you just need to get a little bit tighter. You can just go right into the join and optimize, and it's going to run that link and save you a couple clicks. So helpful in a lot of scenarios if you're having to do small little local edits to the registration or to the bundle. Okay. So, and there's 2 you can delete. But when you select one of the setups, whether you select through the link list here, you're going to have all the same options down along the bottom. So that's mostly it for individual setups. When you select multiple setups, so you also have the ability to batch apply some of these settings, apply level, remove level, edit HDR image, batch import images. I don't know if there's a whole lot different. Yeah, so pretty much it's all the same options, just you can batch do them versus doing them one at a time. So again, this is all options from the sitemap view. If you're in bundle cloud view, if you're in setup cloud view, you might see a few different options show up in the list, or a few options might just disappear. So one is the import images. So I'm in bundle cloud view now, but you notice in the list, the import images from scratch is not there. You have to do that from the sitemap view. But you have a handful of the few, the same options, apply level, remove level, HDR image, edit, report, restore, add targets. So for the most part, it seems to be same list of options here on the bundle cloud as sitemap. It's just you're missing that import option. From there, just a single setup. Anything different? Shouldn't be anything different. And then obviously with your link list or selecting individual links, you can do the same. Go right into visual alignment, join and optimize, save you a handful of clicks. So, and then set up cloud view. So going from here, setup info. I don't think there's anything different here now at this point. Okay, so that's going to be kind of the basics of your selection tree, project selection tree with your setups. Assets, geotags, control, get more into that later on as we kind of get to those stages of the registration process. So at this point or the next videos, we're going to kind of going over, starting to get into some of the more workflows with the registration side, some of the tools specific to that, different ways to edit, and go from there. So that's about it, I think. So we'll see you in the next video.